And by the way, that's Rick Derringer, who did Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, just passed away not too long ago, who did the I'm a Real American song for Hulk Hogan. So there you go, your musical history moment with Mike G.
And that is why I tell people he is the most versatile man in Boston sports media. Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox, and something about Hulk Hogan's music.
Yeah. That's Rock and Roll. Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah.
Very cool.
He's also an expert on bad baseball teams, because I was reading on Twitter last night, you guaranteed they're the worst baseball team east of the Mississippi. How frustrated are you with the Boston Red Sox? Were you one of those that started the year taking the over, buying in on the 90-win team?
I did not take the over because I didn't like the pitching enough. I think the starting rotation was flawed, and I think that's sort of proven to be part of the problem here. But for me, you watch them, man. Like, it's simple baseball things, like Marcelo Mayer throwing to third base when the play is at the plate, and where's the catcher yelling for? You got to throw it home. It's like the Romy Gonzalez with the double and trying to stretch it into a triple and makes the first out of the inning at third base. That's the stuff that, no kidding, you teach in Little League, right?
Yep.
I don't understand this team. I don't understand the what's going on in the minor leagues in terms of the development process. It seems like, the drive line stuff, all the things that they're into, but we forget about fundamentals. Do we forget about how to advance a base runner, hit the ball to the right side? Things like that. They just don't do. And I know a lot of people want to put it on Cora, and certainly he deserves his share of blame. But to me, it feels like he just come up, Andy, and they don't know what the hell they're doing when they get here.
Well, before Ted gives you his question, I did want to let you know that Dan Ball did a little research. He went to the Driveline website, and they do only have 2 tabs: pitching and hitting. There is no defense tab for Driveline, no base running. That doesn't fall into their metrics. So that's definitely a reason to be frustrated.
And Mike, you already answered kind of one of the questions. It's just about Cora. I'm with you. I don't put as much on Cora, which leads me to this question. It just feels like it's like they've outsourced, aspects of the game they want to teach. So Driveline, and then you got Sportsology, and then you got Andrew Bailey, and you got all these different kind of philosophies within the organization that I feel like, that just screws things up, and there's not a clear vision. Just structurally, what do you think of how, it's kind of run with all these different kind of entities within one, basically kind of doing their thing? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, Ted, it feels like they're definitely not on the same page. If you tell me that this is the way Alex Cora wants to run his baseball team, I don't believe you. I think there are certain things that Alex Cora believed as a player, saw growing up, that, the game has evolved a little bit, and there are more numbers and all these different things. But, you can see sometimes the irritation in his voice post-game when he talks about the strikeouts and some of the, but that's what they're teaching, right? It's the 3 outcomes. And I have a hard time pitching backwards. How has the Andrew Bailey process worked? He's been here now for a year and a half. And other than the first month of the season last year, when the pitching backwards thing worked, has it worked since? Who's really taken off? Has Brian Bayo developed? Really, has any of the young arms developed? It's just, to me, there's too much push and pull between Alex and Breslow and whoever else is involved and got their hands in the pie, because it's clear that I think a lot of people have their hands in the pie about what's going on there. And I think it leads to what we're seeing, disjointed baseball.
And we're seeing a lot of consistent disjointed baseball. They are a sub-500 baseball team. I still feel like they lost a series this weekend that they somehow won 2 of the 3 games, because it feels like they lost it.
You're right.
But they'll tell anyone who listens, particularly anyone on WEEI or Nesson, that they still think they're going to be good. They still think they're going to be adding to this team for 2025. Are you buying into this little PR campaign that Breslow and Sam Kennedy seem to be on, trying to convince us that they're still all in on this season?
Well, let me throw that back at you. Are you still buying in? Because I heard you the other day, and I texted you, and I was like, you're out of your mind if you think they're going to actually add money. And what are we now in the last couple of days? What have we heard? Oh, well, Aroldis Chapman might be a guy gets moved. Oh, Alex Bregman, if they can't come to extension, might get moved. Yeah, Andy. The only way they add is if they go on some unforeseen run here in the next couple of weeks where all of a sudden they're in driver's seat, a wild card, and someone says, hey, if you give us a B-level prospect, we'll give you a B-plus starter or a B-minus starter on a good contract or whatever in his last year of his deal. I can't foresee it. I don't believe it. They haven't done it. Why would I believe they're going to do it now?
Preach, Michael. Preach.
Why does everybody yell at me?
Changing, directions a little bit. The Celtics. Okay, the Celtics. Kind of a underwhelming offseason so far. Shedding a lot of salary. And so people are kind of curious. Do they have another big move? And some have speculated that maybe Damian Lillard that they're interested in bringing him in. Do you have any interest in bringing in a Damian Lillard to this team?
Nope, none whatsoever. 34, going to be 35 when he recovers from the torn Achilles. He never played defense before. He's a ball-dominant player. I suppose you could convince me that if it was the minimum, and what's the most they can offer him right now is 5'7". I suppose maybe you could convince me that that's okay. But even then, what are you getting out of that? Obviously, you're not getting anything this year. And if it's it would have to be for a 2-year deal. So you get him 2 years from now. If you listen to the people that really hardcore cover the Celtics and seem to be on the mark with things that are going on, they're not talking about just punting on this year. They're talking about punting on next year as well, about being under the tax. Not the apron, not the second apron, talking about being under the tax and then being ready for the free agency in 2027. That's when they can make their quote-unquote big move.
Ooh.
But then actually people have talked about that, and they're like, well, if they keep Brown, Tatum, and White on the roster, that's like $150 million. So I don't know where the big move exactly is coming from, unless, of course, again, at that point they are saying, all right, well, we'll go back over the second apron. But, yeah, it just feels like this is they're not tanking per se, but they're not doing anything to keep the momentum rolling or to be and I've heard people say they could win 50 games. Really? They could?
Yeah, they could.
I understand that. Yeah, you're right. They
JB.
could. They could if a lot of other things happen.
You son of a...
Ask one about Jay.
No, we're moving on to Mike Giardi, Boston Sports Journal. So, Mike, all the cool people have been going to St. Lucia this offseason. Me, Drake Maye. And Drake May's now at Wimbledon. Ted likes that. He feels like it's
ask Mike about that.
Elevation of his star power.
Yeah.
But my question of you, from what you understand, and you're maybe one of the most connected people on that beat, what is Drake May's off-season relationship with his teammates, specifically his wide receivers, like? We haven't seen any of that.
No videos.
Yeah, no videos from some private school somewhere. No, he rented out a resort in Montana and all the receivers are throwing. What is that relationship like with him as he tries to develop as the true franchise leader quarterback guy? Yeah,
I believe that's actually coming. At least a little birdie whispered that to me. But look, he got married. So it was it was end of OTAs. A couple weeks later, you're getting married. Throw yourself into that. Get a little bit of a break in there. Take some time with his girl, and then he's gonna come back, and it'll be all football all the time from whatever mid-July until however long the season goes. So I think some of that stuff's a little overrated. People get horny for it, and they see the videos because somehow there's people there taking videos of it. You can't just do it on your own. You have to, you have to hire a camera crew to shoot it and show me all the things and edit out all the drops and why did you run it that way? I threw the ball over here. We don't ever see that stuff.
Yep.
But I don't think that matters all that much. And I think, like I said, feels like it's coming here in the next week or so. So, they'll get what they get out of it. And what matters most is when they get on the field and they're being watched by Josh and Mike and everybody else, how it looks then.
I'm curious what Mike's you have to say about this question that we talked about earlier this week. Andy asked us who we thought has the most pressure on them for the Patriots, not named Mike Vrabel and Drake Maye. Do you have a guy in mind that you think there's kind of the target for the most pressure, not named those two guys?
So I heard your answer. I thought the McDaniels answer was a really good answer because, look, I don't think Mike Vrabel and he were forced together, but I also think it was suggested and highly recommended that they be together. And, we've seen Josh at times, look, Josh at his best, there's balance, there's, he's creative, all that stuff. But we've seen Josh sometimes lock into certain things. You throw the ball 12 straight plays, and, that's not who Mike Vrabel is. Now maybe Mike has evolved in the year away from coaching, and maybe he looks at the talent he has in the roster and says, nope, I get it, I get what you're doing. But like I could see some moments there where there's potential for friction, and like so Josh is going to have to toe the line between, sort of maximizing what he has, which again, when we look at the wide receiver room, you don't feel great about, and then here's my best player as my quarterback, and maybe one of the running backs elevates again. And then, like, how does he game that? And I'll be curious to see how that plays. I also think, and it's, I don't know if pressure is the right term for it, but they're paying Stephon Diggs to be a one. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we already went through what we went through this offseason with him not really being here when I think they thought he was going to be here. And then, of course, the viral video in the boat. And as I said, I think forgive but not forget is where the Patriots are at with that. So he's got to come back here and show that, like, he's on point and that he is where he said he was going to be and that he's got the book down. And, like, whether it's week 1 or it's a couple weeks into the season or if it's the Kendrick Bourne week 5 timeline, when he finally gets plugged in there, like, they're paying him to go. Like, I don't know if they're paying him to be the guy who was in Buffalo, but they're still paying him to be whatever, 5-6 catches a game type of guy. And, like, is he capable of that? Does he want to do that? Like he says he does, but is he doing the work away from it? Again, I know he posts the videos on Instagram. I get it.
Fitzy
but
loves them. Fitzy eats them up.
He's in France training. He's going to have a great year, guys. Come on.
Oh, Fitzy. Oh, I would dog Fitzy right now for not being here, but he sent me some beer, so I won't do it. I'll leave Fitzy alone.
All right, before we let you go, I like to play a little more likely game here on WEEI Afternoons, and we didn't ask you anything about the Bruins. I know you're a passionate Bruins follower, so I'm just going to ask you quickly, more likely, the Bruins make the playoffs this coming season, or they have the number 1 overall pick next summer?
Boy, that's a good one.
Thank you.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say they make the playoffs, even though I think the roster's still
wow. A little optimism from Mike Giardi.
Well, I think that they're going to play a defensive style. I think that's where Sturm's sort of background is. He learned from Claude. He learned from the guy out in L.A. And, like, so I think they're going to pack it in, and I think Swayman will be better. And so I think you'll just kind of squeeze into that 8th spot, and then be out in, 4 games.
All right. That's the homer that is Mike Giardi, Boston Sports Journal. I believe he's headed down the Cape. He's going to enjoy some fun, sun, and fireworks. Enjoy the 4th of July weekend,
Thanks,
Mike.
Mike.